Hey, my name is Annie, and I'm so excited to announce that I have officially arrived to Taiwan! To celebrate, I thought why not create a quick video that summarizes the entire A to Z process of what you can expect when flying to Taiwan during a pandemic. In this video, I will be covering the latest update on who is allowed to enter Taiwan, what you need to prepare before your departure, and finally, what takes place at the airport upon your arrival. How's that sound? Good? Awesome. Well, let's get started. So as you know, Taiwan still has in place a temporary ban on all foreign nationals entering Taiwan, which means entry is currently only available for Taiwanese citizens, as well as those who hold an ARC card, study visa, or a work visa. With that being said, considering the need for, as well as right to family reunions, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs actually announced that as of April 12, 2022, that foreign relatives of Taiwanese citizens, as well as foreign residents in Taiwan, excluding migrant workers, are actually able to now apply for a special entry permit. So what this means is that applicants just need to complete an online visa application form, as well as submit all the required documentation to the Bureau of Consular Affairs for consideration. And once you receive approval from the Bureau of Consular Affairs, you would then be permitted to enter Taiwan. For ease of reference, I actually screenshotted the full list on those who are eligible to apply for a special entry permit visa to Taiwan. You can also go directly to this link to find the full information as well as application process for yourself. On a completely separate note, the Health Minister of Taiwan, Chen Shizhong, actually did say at April 19th legislative hearing that Taiwan could potentially begin allowing quarantine-free entry from July onwards for travelers from countries with similar rates of COVID-19 infections. So while this hasn't been fully confirmed by the government, but it's only a prediction of what the reopening process will look like and the timeline for it, it is very exciting to see that Taiwan may potentially be open for travelers to enter quarantine-free from July onwards, as opposed to next year, which was what was initially mentioned a couple months back. So I'm very excited and want to cross my fingers that people can start coming to Taiwan quarantine-free, as it's been a while since people visited Asia, right? So very excited. So now that we've gone over the entry restrictions for Taiwan, let's talk about what you need to prepare before you depart to Taiwan. So essentially your pre-departure checklist. So there are 5 things you need to prepare beforehand. The first being, you need to get a proof of your quarantine stay in Taiwan. This could be at your home or in a quarantine hotel. And for more information on this, I actually talk more about the quarantine details in my part 2 video, so check that out over here instead. And on that note, I also talk about what is considered eligible for home quarantine, as well as what is eligible for hotel quarantine. So definitely check that out for more details there. But let's move on to the second point of what you need to prepare, which is getting your proof of vaccination. So in order to enter Taiwan, you have to be fully vaccinated. And what that means is you need to have your 2 doses completed. You don't need to worry about getting the extra dosage of the booster shots, at least at this time. So just 2 doses and you're good to go. So for those of you who are watching right now that are based in Vancouver or Canada, this next part is for you because this is the same process I went through myself to get my proof of vaccination. So go directly to the government.bc website. Link is over here. And then, the first step is to scroll down and click the button that says Get My Federal Proof of Vaccination. Fill in your information, your personal health number, your date of birth, as well as your date of vaccine. Could be the first dose or the second dose, either works. Alternatively, you can also log in directly with a BC Services card. So once you input all information or log in directly through your BC Service card, you would then be redirected to a separate page that showcases your actual proof of vaccination documentation. So once you see that screen, make sure you click the download button and actually print the proof of vaccination out, as you'll need a physical copy when you check in at the airport afterwards. Great. Now let's move on to the third thing that you need to have, which is getting your COVID PCR test done. And in order to enter Taiwan, you need to make sure that your results are negative. So something for you to know is that the test needs to be done within 2 days before boarding your actual flight to Taiwan. One thing that you need to make sure is that when you get your health report back about your COVID-19 PCR test results, it has to be either written in English or in Chinese. So for those of you who are coming from a non-English speaking country, do make sure that you can get an English version printed out. The reason for this is because failure to comply with either English or Chinese written document is a fine of 10,000 Chinese dollars all the way to 150,000 Chinese dollars. So do make sure that you can have the English or Chinese version of this copy. So again, if you're watching this from Vancouver or Canada, this next part is for you because I'm also based in Vancouver and this is the same process I went through. So in terms of booking your COVID PCR test, you can actually do so directly with LifeLabs. And the price for this is around like 150 Canadian dollars plus tax. And you can book it directly at this link. So for LifeLabs, this is only available for British Columbia, Ontario, as well as Saskatchewan citizens. So if you're residing in other provinces in Canada, you might need to look elsewhere instead. Another point I want to bring up is that if you're flying with Ever Airline or China Airline, you might actually get an email about a special offer for COVID PCR tests that they are doing in collaboration with the Ultima Medical Services. And the price for that is around like 149 Canadian dollars plus tax. Within the same email, you'll see the different locations that they have this collaboration PCR testing unit for. So I'm just going to screenshot the one that I received. So this is mostly based within like BC. So if you're from other regions, maybe Toronto, Alberta, etc., that you're flying to Taiwan from, it might be different for you. So just heads up there. So again, I didn't receive this email until like 2 days before my flight, which is too late because I actually booked my PCR test way before then. And luckily, there wasn't too much of a price difference. I know if you book outside of LifeLabs or the two airlines, the average cost is around like 179, 189 to 199, depending where you go. So definitely look with LifeLabs first or the airlines that have a partnership for PCR testing for a cheaper, more reasonable price, I would say. Oh, and by the way, the email that you receive with the special offer for taking a PCR test, it comes with the email where the airline sends you about the health declaration form that you need to complete. So it's all together in the same email. So just a heads up there. Which perfectly brings us to the fourth thing you need to have ready before you fly, and that is completing the health declaration form that is provided to you by the airline that you fly with, whether it's China Airline or Ever Airline. In my case, Ever Airline is the one that provide me this specific health declaration form. So one thing to know is that this form needs to be complete 48 hours before your arrival in Taiwan, and you need to actually print out the physical copy for you to bring to the counter when you check in at the airport before you fly out to Taiwan afterwards. So make sure you actually sign all 3 pages and have it printed directly to go. If you do forget to print it or if you do forget to sign it, at least at the Vancouver airport, they do have extra copies available for you just for these instances. But I would say to avoid the lines and just to check in easily, do have it printed beforehand. And finally, the 5th thing you need to have completed before departing for Taiwan is the quarantine system for entry. The link is here for you to take a look at. And I'll walk you through how this form essentially look like in the next part. So upon entering the link, you'll come to this page. So when you scroll down, type in the confirmation code, you'll then pop up your whole declaration form information. Fill in your nationality, fill in your flight number, your departure country, region, where you've been for the last 14 days. If you didn't go anywhere, fill in the same country that you're coming from. And then finally, what's your reason for going to Taiwan? Next up, you'll then see a warning page which pretty much goes over the rules as well what you need to give your consent to. Next up is pretty much the last part, which is all your information from your passenger information, your birthday, your name, your passport number, etc. Make sure if you have a dual citizenship to fill in the second part, and then the one below that is your Taiwanese citizenship card. Followed by, they also ask you some COVID questions, and then getting your consent to see if you need to do a COVID test at the airport or not. And finally, your contact information. So for your contact information, definitely use a Taiwanese SIM card number if you do have a Taiwanese mobile number. If you don't, then fill in your home country number first. And then for your family or other members, also use the Taiwanese number instead for them. Moving forward, they also ask you about your history of vaccination. Just let them know you did your 2 shots already. And then below is about like where you're going to stay for quarantine. Once you pick any of the selection, they will ask you for the address of where you're staying at. And then finally, you then click yes to the bottom, and then you're good to go. Now coming up next, I will go over what you can expect upon landing at Taiwan, specifically their arrival COVID testing process. But first, if this video has been insightful so far, I would really appreciate it if you can show it some love and give it a thumbs up. Awesome. Now we're officially reaching the final segment of our video, which is pretty much going through the airport arrival process. So I'm going to be sharing what I personally went through when I arrived to Taiwan. So depending on when you arrive, it might look different, but at least when I arrived in April 26th, this is what I went through. So the moment my plane landed and I turned on my phone, which has my Taiwanese SIM card, I actually received a text message from the government. And this text message is actually important because it will be something that I need for the next stage of the COVID testing process, which I'll go over a bit later. But first and foremost, once you exit the aircraft, you will actually be greeted by a couple of airport staff who will then hand you this green instruction card that includes all of the process in terms of the entry quarantine procedure. So make sure you keep this on you, as you will actually need this specific instruction card to sort you in the right line upon receiving the testing kits. So there will be a line that has a card and there will be a line that doesn't have the card. So I'm not sure why people don't have the card. I think that might be coming from transfers or other reasoning. But for those of you that do have the card, you get essentially priority access. It's a lot faster and more streamlined. So make sure you keep the card and don't lose it. Anywho, like once you get the green instruction card, you'll continue walking and you'll see a group of additional airport staff members, and then you'll see 2 separate lines. So the first line on the left side are people that have a Taiwanese SIM card, and for those who receive a text message from the government. So myself would be in that line. And then the other line are all the other travelers that do not have a Taiwanese SIM card or did not receive a text message from the government, so they will need to go to a self-service checkout instead, which I'll talk about that a bit later. So essentially, the purpose of these 2 lines is they want you to obtain your health declaration certificate, and this is something you need in order to get your testing kit. So when you've initially completed the quarantine system for entry online form prior to your departure, and you input your Taiwanese number on it, you will receive a text message with a link, which is what I received. However, if you inputted a foreign number, you will actually be guided to the self-service machine to obtain your health declaration form. So you might need to fill out a couple more information. I'm not too familiar with that process because I didn't go through that stage, but I went through the text message stage. On both sides though, whether you receive a text message or you did not receive a text message and you do your self-service, there will be airport staff members helping you and guiding you throughout the whole process. So because I received a text message, the airport staff essentially gave me the airport Wi-Fi for me to proceed with, where I then click into the link and asked me for the last 6 digits of my passport and just confirm a few things. And then once I entered that information in, I was able to receive a 3-page document that the airport staff recommended me to screenshot as it's needed to receive the testing kit. So once that portion is done, you'll continue walking a few more steps and you'll see the different lines where people with the instruction card will go to the left side, people without their instruction card will go on the right side, just to separate the 2 lines. So once you start lining up in your designated area that's based on the instruction card sorting, you'll be essentially lining up to get your testing kit, which includes a spit bottle, a paper form that contains all your personal details, which is printed based off of the screenshot that you gave to the medical staff attendant. And finally, you'll also receive 2 COVID antigen self-test kits. This is essentially what you will be using on the 10th day of your quarantine, whether it's at-home quarantine or hotel quarantine, for you to just test yourself to make sure that you are still negative. And if you are positive, then you might need to quarantine for an extra amount of time instead. So just, yeah, make sure you keep this handy on you. Great. So now that you got all your COVID testing kits, you can then continue walking past through the immigration guards, as well as head directly to the luggage area to pick up your luggage. Just a quick heads up that you might need to wait a bit of time, and the reason for that is because each luggage is actually getting sanitized by the airport staff, so it does take time for you to come up the ramp for you to pick up. So just keep in mind, it might take like 20-30 minutes. Get your phone ready or get some like stuff for you to keep yourself busy for the time being. But yeah, so just heads up, they're doing some sanitation, which is why there might be a longer wait, and also why your luggage may come out as a bit sticky or a bit wet, but it won't be too troublesome, so like don't worry too much about that. Anywho, now that you finally got your luggage, you can then finally exit the airport and head directly into the airport arrival lobby waiting area, which you'll then see a bunch of signs guiding you to the left side where a staff is waiting for you on standby. The staff is there essentially to give you the location as well as instructions on the next step regarding the spit test, which you would take to confirm whether or not you have COVID. So once you get those information, you would then exit the airport and turn left, which you would then walk into this enclosed area where the test is taking place. So you'll be pretty much putting your luggage cart on the side, and you walk directly to the testing area with the spit bottle as well as your paper form. Both of them are needed for you to proceed. So when you walk into the enclosed area after you drop off your luggage to the side, you'll see several individual booths which you'll be able to do your spit test. And once you're done your spit test, hand the ball directly to the medical staff along with the paper that you received from earlier, and then the staff will in return give you this like quarantine blue sticker that you can stick onto your t-shirt to say that you have completed the entire testing process and you are ready to leave. So after you leave the testing area, you would then be guided to the quarantine taxis, which is essentially prepared to take you to your quarantine hotel or your quarantine home. Just a quick note that there are different pricing set for the different areas that you are driving to. So if you're going to northern area of Taiwan, there will be that set price. And then if you're going to like the southern or eastern area of Taiwan, there'll be a separate price as well. I actually screenshotted both signs for you to take a look at here to know the price. The signs essentially show the maximum amount of price that the taxi can charge you. For example, if you're going to Taipei City, the max the quarantine taxi can charge you is $1,000. So even if the beeper goes up to like 1,500, which it actually went for me is 1,500. They can't charge you 1,500. They can only charge you up to 1,000 Taiwanese dollars. So just to keep that in mind afterwards. Yeah. And then that's essentially the whole process for you to know about, from landing in the airport in Taiwan all the way to leaving the airport in Taiwan. That's essentially the step-by-step process you go through. I did wish I was able to film more specific like clips so you can see how it looks like, but unfortunately a lot of the airport attendants and medical staff were pretty much saying, oh, no cameras, proceed quickly, go to your next stage, etc. So unfortunately, I don't have the videos for you, but it's pretty straightforward. The staffs are super helpful, and they really are there to, make sure you don't get lost and make sure that you're able to proceed successfully. And that's a wrap. So if you watched all the way up until now, I'm very proud to say that you are officially ready to travel to Taiwan. Yay! If you like my content so far, please make sure to subscribe to my channel as well as turn on the notification bell so you can stay up to date and follow me on my journey as I travel across Taiwan. In the meantime, definitely check out part 2 of this video series over here, where I walk you through the full one-on-one quarantining process in Taiwan, as well as show you how you can book your own quarantine hotel, and finally give you a little sneak peek of what my quarantine hotel room looks like. So definitely stay tuned for that, or just click the button here to directly watch the part 2 video. Awesome! So again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time.